What's up, Commanders fans? Welcome back to Commanders HQ, your go-to spot for everything Washington Commanders. Let me start today by saying this. Our team is working harder than ever to keep improving week after week. Dan Quinn's staff is pushing for consistency, the players are grinding, and the front office continues to build a roster capable of competing deep into the season. And that's why we're here, to break it all down, give you the inside perspective, and keep you connected to the burgundy and gold. Now, before we dive into today's huge story, I need your support. If you love getting Commanders updates every single day, go ahead and hit that like button right now. It helps this channel grow and make sure other fans can find our community. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to Commanders HQ. We're building something special here. Let's get straight into the headline. Terry McLaurin's status for Sunday's matchup against the Atlanta Falcons is officially in doubt. According to multiple reports, McLaurin is seeking additional medical opinions on the quad injury he suffered late in the team's Week 3 win over the Las Vegas Raiders. If you remember, he was tackled at the 1-yard line, came up limping, and never returned to the field. He finished the game playing just 60% of the offensive snaps, well below his usual workload. Now, here's the thing, McLaurin isn't just any player. Through 3 games, he's already got 10 catches for 149 yards, and once again, he's showing why he's the most trusted target in this offense. His ability to win outside, fight through press coverage, and come down with contested catches is exactly what gives Jayden Daniels or Marcus Mariota in relief that safety valve every quarterback needs. Without McLaurin, Washington loses its most respected weapon, the guy defenses game plan against, the guy who takes pressure off Deebo Samuel Sr., Noah Brown, and every other receiver on the field. If he can't go, this offense suddenly looks very different heading into a pivotal NFC matchup. So let's play this out. If McLaurin is sidelined, how do the Commanders adjust? First, expect Deebo Samuel Sr. to get even more touches. He's already been building chemistry with Daniels, and his versatility makes him a nightmare for defenses. Samuel can line up outside, in the slot, or even take handoffs in the backfield. But asking him to suddenly take on McLaurin's entire workload, that's a tall order. Second, this is where the depth gets tested. Noah Brown, if healthy, has the size and reliability to step in as a possession receiver. Jalen Lane, the rookie, brings speed and upside, though he's still learning the system. And then there's Luke McCaffrey, who just last week showed flashes of playmaking ability with a late touchdown and some clutch catches. If ever there was a moment for him to prove he belongs in the rotation, this is it. Beyond the receivers, Washington could lean harder on the ground game. With Brian Robinson Jr. and Chris Rodriguez in the backfield, plus a mobile quarterback in Mariota if Daniels remains out, the Commanders could shift to a more physical ball control style. Establishing the run keeps the chains moving and limits the exposure of a thin passing attack. And let's not forget, this isn't just about McLaurin. Washington is also monitoring the health of franchise quarterback Jayden Daniels, who's been dealing with a sprained knee since Week 2. If Daniels can't go against Atlanta, it's Marcus Mariota again under center. Now, Mariota played lights out against the Raiders, leading Washington to a 41-24 win. But the dynamic is different without both Daniels and McLaurin. It means the playbook tightens. It means defenses don't have to worry about Daniels' legs opening up lanes. It means every yard is tougher to earn. And that's why McLaurin's availability is so critical. He's the one player who can take a 50-50 ball and make it 100% Washington's. Now, let's switch gears for a moment, because while McLaurin's story dominates headlines, there was another under-the-radar development in Week 3 that Commanders fans need to know about. And that's the quiet emergence of tight end Ben Sinnott. You might not have noticed it, because Sinnott didn't record a single catch against the Raiders. In fact, he wasn't even targeted. But his impact? Absolutely massive. Through the first 2 weeks, fans were starting to throw around that dreaded word, bust. Sinnott, the second-round pick from Kansas State in 2024, had just 11 total snaps and looked completely out of rhythm. With Zach Ertz still producing and John Bates holding down the blocking role, it felt like Sinnott was getting squeezed out. But then, opportunity knocked. Bates went down early against Las Vegas, and suddenly, Sinnott had to step in. Not as a pass catcher, but as a blocker. And folks, he delivered. Pro Football Focus graded him as Washington's third best blocker in the game, with a 72.9 run blocking grade, trailing only Tyler Biadasz and Chris Paul. That's huge. That's not just surviving, that's thriving in a role that wasn't supposed to be his. What stood out most was his aggression. Sinnott threw himself into linebackers and even took on defensive tackles at times. He looked stronger, more confident, and far more physical than he had in previous weeks. This wasn't the same uncertain player from the first 2 games. This was a guy who seemed to realize that his NFL career was at a crossroads and decided to fight for it. Now, here's why this matters, especially with McLaurin's status uncertain. Washington needs balance. You can't just replace McLaurin with one guy, but you can spread the load across multiple players. And if Sinnott can give you steady, physical blocking while eventually adding the pass-catching upside that made him a second-round pick, that takes pressure off the receivers and the quarterback. Think back to what Adam Peters said when he drafted Sinnott. He compared him to George Kittle and Kyle Juszczyk. Those are players who don't always fill the stat sheet, but who make their offenses more dangerous because of their versatility. Maybe Sinnott's breakout won't come in the box score, but if he's paving lanes in the run game and keeping Daniels or Mariota clean, that's just as valuable. So here we are, Sunday against the Falcons, an NFC matchup, a chance to build momentum, but also a potential test of depth. Atlanta's defense has weaknesses in coverage, which makes McLaurin's absence all the more frustrating. But it also means the Commanders can't sulk. They've got to adapt. If McLaurin is out, this game becomes a game about resilience. Can Deebo Samuel shoulder the load? Can Luke McCaffrey and Jalen Lane step up? Can Ben Sinnott build on his progress and prove he's ready for a bigger role? We're about to find out. We all know the backstory. Rookie sensation Jayden Daniels, the face of the franchise, the guy this entire rebuild has been built around, goes down with a sprained knee. For Commanders fans, it felt like the air was sucked out of the stadium when that happened. The hope, the excitement, the electricity around this new era, suddenly, all of it was put on pause. But football is a next man up league, and the next man up was none other than Marcus Mariota, a seasoned veteran who's seen just about everything this league can throw at you.
And what did he do? He went out there and led the Commanders to 41 points against the Las Vegas Raiders. That's not just serviceable. That's not just hold down the fort until the rookie gets back. That's winning football at the highest level. Let's be real here. This offense looked as smooth as it has all season. Cliff Kingsbury leaned on the run game, yes, but Mariota's poise, decision-making, and leadership elevated the unit in a way that surprised a lot of people. He didn't look like a backup. He didn't look like a placeholder. He looked like a guy who could win you games if needed. And in the NFL, that matters. Mariota himself spoke after the game, and you could hear it in his voice. This is a guy who feels at home in Washington's system. He talked about his connection with Kingsbury, quarterbacks coach Tavita Pritchard, and the rest of the staff. He talked about the communication, the trust, the understanding that not every play is going to be perfect, but that the group never blinks. That's leadership. That's experience. And that's why this performance has now created a very real question for the Commanders. Now, let's be clear here. Jayden Daniels is still the guy. He's the franchise quarterback, the player this front office drafted to lead this team for the next decade. Nobody is suggesting Mariota is suddenly QB1 for the long haul. But here's the dilemma. Daniels' knee. He's listed as day-to-day, but we know how tricky these injuries can be. Lateral movement, pocket mobility, planting, cutting, these are all vital to Daniels' game. He's not a sit-back-and-throw-only quarterback. His athleticism, his ability to extend plays, that's what makes him dangerous. Dan Quinn addressed it on Monday. He said Daniels is still progressing, still working through things, and that the medical staff will guide the timeline. He was very careful not to tie Mariota's performance to Daniels' return, but let's not kid ourselves. Mariota balling out gives this team the luxury of not rushing Jayden Daniels back, and that might be the smartest move the Commanders can make. Think about it. You've got a rookie quarterback who is the future of your franchise. He's already shown he can play at a high level in this league, but he's also coming off a knee sprain. Why risk making it worse? If Mariota was struggling, if the offense looked lost without Daniels, then maybe you push the envelope. Maybe you take that gamble. But after a 41-point explosion, after watching Mariota look like he's been in this system for years, you don't need to gamble. NFL insider Adam Schefter even said it himself. The Commanders may not feel the need to rush Daniels back, and frankly, that's the smartest path forward. Now, another underrated part of this story is the locker room. Players notice things like this. They know when a veteran steps up and delivers. They see the calm, steady hand Mariota brings. And while everyone knows Daniels is the future, having that kind of presence in the locker room builds trust in the system. It also sends a message. No matter who's under center, This team can compete. And for a group that's still building its identity under Dan Quinn, that's invaluable. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. Next up, the Atlanta Falcons, a team that just got embarrassed in a 30-0 loss to the Carolina Panthers. If there was ever a get-right game, this is it. So do you risk putting Daniels out there at less than 100%, or do you roll with Mariota, who just hung 41 points, and let Daniels continue to heal? Personally, I think the writing's on the wall. The Commanders are going to be smart here. They're going to take the long view, and I wouldn't be surprised one bit if Mariota gets another start. Commanders fans, this is what makes the NFL season so unpredictable. One week you're celebrating a dominant win, the next you're holding your breath over the health of your best wide receiver, but that's also what makes it so exciting. It's about who rises when the stars can't shine. Terry McLaurin's injury is a huge concern, no doubt, but it's also a chance for this roster to show its depth, its toughness, and its fight. And if guys like Deebo Samuel, Luke McCaffrey, and Ben Sinnott can step up, the Commanders won't just survive, they'll thrive. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think the Washington can beat the Falcons without Terry McLaurin? And do you believe Ben Sinnott is finally turning the corner toward becoming the player Adam Peters envisioned? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear it all. And don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to Commanders HQ, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. This season is only getting started, and we've got plenty more to cover. This is Commanders HQ, signing off. HTTC.